Then just before we go,
better for America.
One thing that we would
Yes,
love for you to help us reconcile, the president has said over and over that this plan is not going to help him. He said, going to help me, believe me. But by our calculations, it 100% helps the president and his family. And we're not begrudging them for it, but we are calling it a lie.
Well, all I can tell you is this is going to help all Americans. It's focused on the middle class. That's where we're looking.
It's going to help the rich.
I'm asking you.
It's going to help the rich.
Does this help the rich? And if so, why is our president lying about that?
Well, I can't speak for the president on what his finances are and whether or not it would help him. I know that it helps all Americans and that we're focused on the middle class. That's what I know. That's what we're trying to do. We want to create jobs and focus on the middle class.
This plan doesn't have a tax cut for the middle class. This plan has a tax cut. No, sir. It has a clear tax cut for the absolute richest, and it also gets rid of the estate tax. And for pass-throughs, it lowers the tax basis.
And it gets rid of the AMT.
And 90% of those who hold LLCs, pass-throughs, are in the top 1%. So I haven't heard any talk of the middle class.
Well, what we're doing is we're making it simpler. That helps the middle class. Second,
but sir, it doesn't.
We're also taking the rates and we're lowering those rates.
Sir, with all due respect, that just doesn't make sense.
Will drop to zero.
No, but sir, simpler doesn't help anybody get any more prosperous. It maybe doesn't help H&R Block all that much, but that's just a misnomer, right? It's nice that it's 3 tax brackets, but it doesn't actually help anybody. It doesn't make anybody more prosperous.
Yes, it does. We're doubling those deductions. We've got child credits are in there. We're increasing that. There's a dependent deduction that I hope we'll get through the process as we go forward in the framework, so it doesn't have to be just a child who's dependent, but maybe a parent or somebody else who's dependent and you're claiming them on your taxes, an extra deduction there. There are a lot of things in this plan that help lower income folks and middle income folks, and our focus is to make sure that we're helping those middle income folks.
So you're okay with the idea that the president ran and continue to talk about the fact that the rich will get nothing out of this, and says so every day. He probably just said it again while he's talking now.
Steve Mnuchin on record said that the rich will not get a tax cut.
So your constituents are okay with the fact that that's a lie?
Well, and again, I can't speak to, I think it helps everybody, so I would have to say it helps everybody, but it's focused on the middle class, and I think that's where our focus needs to be as a nation. We need to create jobs, help those folks who are out there working in the middle class, the middle income brackets. This plan will do that by lowering the rates for everybody. In those, it doesn't lower the rates at the high end, but it lowers the rates for everybody in the middle. There are some things, obviously, the estate tax helps folks who are wealthier, but I also don't like to see family farms being sold, businesses that may hit the cap.
Do you know a single family farm, sir? Do you have any example of a single family farm that suffered because of the estate tax? We're just looking for one, because Republicans say it all the time, but no one's actually been able to find one.
I'll give you a business that could have suffered, but fortunately in Virginia we changed our policies, and that would be Pillis Brothers in downtown Salem. It's a little garage, and they were very concerned. And the problem when you have a death tax out there is that those rates can go up and down, and people are very concerned that while the rate may be up now, a future administration may try to bring it down. We'd like to get rid of it so that you don't get taxed on everything while you're alive and then get taxed again when you die.
Then, sir, let's say we buy that entire argument, and I realize we have to go. Assuming that's the case, in your opinion, why doesn't the president say that and own that? Instead, he's simply lying. Because if he is worth the $10 billion he says he is, getting rid of that estate tax would save his family $4 billion. Why wouldn't he, in your opinion, speaking for yourself, not him, why doesn't he say that?
Well, I can't speak for him, as you just said.
I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm asking, what is your opinion of the president lying?
I've told you what the plan does. I'm sorry?
Don't you have an opinion on that? Do you not have a view on that the president is telling a lie?
I haven't paid attention to everything that the president has said, and I'd have to see it in context before I could make an allegation that severe.
Okay. All right, sir, thank you for joining us. Morgan Griffith.